comments from the board?
I thought I'm allowed to. I thought that the 8x8 posts were an improvement. I think on the last submission, this looks slender to me. And also, my question is just about the color of the pergola. If it, a lot of times those are white, and if it would be better to match it to the house color, if we can suggest that. Oh, as I look down on the front cover, it says black, so I'm answered.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, there's graphic, like on the rear elevation, looking at that compared to the photos, it looks like the crown molding might interfere with the window, but I don't know. I mean, it looks like it might tuck in there, so that probably is just a graphic thing and not how it will really be constructed.
Just had a question. The photographs show that the area below the existing deck is closed off. And I just wanted to verify that that closed off area is to remain. And maybe a little more information on the profile of the crown would be helpful. And I think that increasing the columns to 8x8 rather than 6x6 is an improvement. I think 10 would be better if they would be open to considering that maybe as an option.
Mhm.
All right, anything else? We will discuss that public hearing. The last public hearing on our list is 28 Elm Place, which Tracy is recusing herself. All right, so comments on the detached garage.
Are we reviewing the optional carport as well, or is it the garage only?
I assumed that it was the carport as well, because it's a carport option.
Okay,
So I'm assuming since they submitted it, that they wanted it reviewed.
okay, okay.
You can clarify that, but that was
Yeah.
just kind of how it occurred to me.
Mhm.
I
think-
gotta say that the new addition that was done in recently last year turned out really nice.
Yeah.
The pictures, I mean, I like that. I just like the wood with the white trim. It's nice.
Looks very nice.
Yeah, looks good.
So my main question was the carport or the garage, and then I had no comment on the garage design itself, but I was wondering if the carport, I'm not sure how adjacent it is to the neighbors' structures, but if they would consider a screen wall between the car on the side closest to the fence line, if they would consider a screen wall just to looks very utilitarian. I mean, it is utilitarian, but it just seems so much less than the garage.
I agree. I think the garage looks very good. With the carport option, since it is in the historic district and it will be
Mhm.
visible from the street, I would recommend doing some more treatment on the columns, perhaps wrapping them in a simple cap and base trim. And it looks like the carport has the option of either going shingle or standing seam metal roof. And in the historic district, I would stick with the shingle just because it's more typical of what's in the area and would blend better with the house.
We had a little more trim. Do you think the column should be a little bigger?
Yeah, or if they wrap them with something that would make them look bigger.
Yep. That was my thought.
And is the in that same vein is the pre-manufactured scissor truss exposed look appropriate, or would we want to have a gable end trim or something maybe?
I personally think something more traditional rather than the exposed gable end truss, because it is in the historic district, would suit the surroundings better.
And you would consider just a regular pediments, rather than follow the configuration of the truss.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Rather than doing that twice, you just have
Yes,
flat
flat
bottom.
across,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me the column expression and the beams and the truss and gables on the carport would, I think, if they were trimmed out similar to the front porch of the house, then I think there would be a better relationship in between the carport and the house itself in the historic district.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of slightly larger columns, post and beam trim,
Mhm.
and the infill of the gables, all three. That was my comments on the carport. I thought the garage looked really good, so I don't have any comments there. All right, 28 Elm Place we'll discuss. All right, so we can, I think, have Tracy
Yeah.
come back in. All right, our next project is 9325 Big Bend Boulevard, new sunroom. This is a resubmittal.
I had no comment.
No comments, Bob.
Have a couple of clarification items. It looks like there's a note that says that the roof will be standing seam, but then there's also an illustration that has it drawn more like it's shingles. So I just wanted to verify for sure which we're getting, because the elevation on 6-7 is drawn like shingles. But then the note on 5-7 says that it's standing seam. And then also there's a note on 5-7 that says the owner is to provide new lap siding match existing, that the existing siding is shingle. So I just want to know if we're getting shingle and standing seam metal, or horizontal lap siding and shingles on the roof.
I had a comment on the, I guess, north elevation. And I know we talked about this last time with the windows being asymmetrical. And I'm wondering if we can maybe just overframe that shed roof. That way inside the room, you've got windows that align. And I don't think the shape would be quite as odd looking from that elevation. And then I also noticed on the west and east that gable roof doesn't overhang at the rear. And I don't know if that would help anything to have an overhang there.
Next on our work session is 1132 Pine Tree Lane. Also a resubmittal.
It seems to me when we saw this last, part of the work shown on these plans had already been constructed. And then they were coming back about the porch and some other items, and I just was unsure of what the current scope is on this project.
Same
So,
question.
yeah. um,
Yeah, our agenda says reviewing front porch and railing.
Right.
This was a previously approved and there was an addendum for the front porch. And I think they came before and we asked for additional, we had comments
Right.
on the
Oh.
railings and such
Yeah, and that, it was quite a while ago.
quite a while ago.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
now I think it's just the front porch
Front porch only.
for the ARB tonight.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of what I
Well,
thought,
all
but
my
it's been
comments
quite a
are
while.
Do what?
All my comments are moved.
Are there any comments directly related to the front porch?
Code compliant, looks like these lines maybe were added later and spacing's a little off. Have to put 4 inches, in between the porch surface and the rail, bottom rail. But I assume it'll be code compliant, just lack aluminum railing. No comments.
Is it a visual issue with how it's printed, or does the one centric column look tapered and the other columns don't look tapered?
Yes.
That's
Or
a good point.
is the railing making the look like it's flared out, but it's not?
Optical illusion.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't have any comment.
That calls them out of 6x6 posts. There's some text on here I can't read.
There's a lot of text.
Not sure what that text
Can't
is.
read them with my bifocals.
I can almost see it.
I got my phone light out to read them.
I think we can ask him about the material on that, because I don't think it's clear. It might say it in these notes, but they're like very finely written and grayed out. We can ask about the front porch material. All right. 1432 Bridal Avenue window replacement.
Um, my first comment is that overall, I think the windows are appropriate, but the window 101, which is replacing the dual double hung with the two flanking double hungs, taking it out entirely and replacing it with a triple pane slider is not appropriate, I think, for this opening. You lose a lot of character by taking out those ganged mullions.
Yeah, that was my initial comment, was that the triple sliders just don't look right. They just, the other thing, Jim, I wanted to ask you is that in a lot of these cases where he's saying that we're not, or they're saying we're not meeting egress requirements, what's your stance on that?
In existing homes, we allow it, but we would ask for a change in function, get as close as we can. We don't force them, especially in existing brick homes, to widen.
Right.
But if it's a double hung and it's meeting egress now, they're not allowed to reduce the safety of the house. So we would ask for a casement on the plan review code side.
Well, my comment is follows that in terms of the fact that, you know, you're replacing those windows in kind with double hungs, but they don't meet egress. And I know you can get casement that can do that, and you can have grills to match, you know, a double hung. Seen that done on projects before. So, so I think in a life safety issue, in terms of how the city reviews this, I think that requirement,
It's paramount.
maybe should be.
We've noticed a lot of these windows are frame inserts
Mhm.
instead of frame removal and a new frame for the window. And that
Right.
affects that net clear opening.
Right.
A lot.
Good
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times that happens when you're working with a masonry building where, you know, you have an insert go into maybe a wood frame but still, if you can meet the egress requirements by doing that, I think that's a real plus.
Then it's worth it. Yep.
Well, and also with the inserts, you try to, I mean, you'd want to avoid the frame buildup of, you know, reducing the opening and then, you know, it's just,
I have the same comment about the maintaining the proportion of the Chicago style window rather than going to the 3 equal light slider.
Same.
would you be okay with say 2 casements and a fixed?
I think that would look fine because it would still, especially if you maintain those, the mullion dimensions, the
Right.
existing mullion dimension and go to casements on the end and then a fixed in the center. I think that would be fine.
And I think last time, didn't we have a comment about the dirt that gets accumulated in the sliders and that becomes an issue later on? So I think.
Well, yeah.
All right. Move on to the next project, 664 Lilac Avenue, new addition. Comments from the board?
I thought this looked really nice. The only, I guess, suggestion I had was maybe adding a window on the back side of the piano room. Maybe some transom windows.
I have the same comment and also adding a window to the mudroom on the north elevation would help that elevation a bit and also get natural light into the mudroom. And I also wondered if they'd be open to keeping a window on the south side of the family room, perhaps like a shorter window, just to have something on that side where the window is being taken out.
Yeah, I agree with the idea about having a window in the mudroom. It's a fairly good sized room. I would think that'd help with natural light and whatever. So.
Anything else on Lilac? If not, then we can move on to the last project, which is 253 Papin. I think Tracy is gonna step out for that one as well.
Getting her steps in today.
New addition. Comments from the board?
A clarification item about the foundation treatment on the rear. Underneath that existing laundry on the photographs, it looks like that's cantilevered with some lattice underneath it, closing that area off. And then I just wanted to verify on that, the addition where the breakfast room is. What's the foundation treatment under there? Because the foundation plan shows a dash and a crawl space, but then on the 3D view, it looks like the new 2-story addition is also cantilevered. So I just wanted to clarify what's actually intended there. And then I also wondered if they would be open to keeping some window openings in the family room on the side, maybe just a couple of high windows to not have that blank elevation and let some more natural light in there, and just to have a discussion about that.
I was wondering if it looks like the addition is trying to on the main elevation try to replicate the same look of the original building, which is fine, but it just like the roofs are all like looking at the side elevation number 2, the roof lines are kind of like all over the place. And I see they have the deeper 12-12 pitch within the dormer pitch roof poking out. But I wonder if I don't know, maybe they could share the same roof plane because they step back. It just doesn't seem so cohesive.
It looks like there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
If it could be simplified or something. And then I just have a question about the eyebrow on the addition, if it's really even necessary or it's almost competing with the main porch to some extent.
Mhm. If you get rid of the eyeball, maybe add a band board or something, if you want to kind of
Mhm.
break up the massing of that. I mean, that might be an idea.
A question for Jim. It seems like the addition is a completely separate entity from there is no connectivity between anything upstairs, like plan wise, it's almost like 2 homes and didn't know if there was anything required.
As long as they both have their own access and egress.
Okay. It just seemed different, I guess, different, not odd, but different. No.
All right, anything else on Pappin?
Just one more thing. Some of the windows have grids, some don't. I guess on the existing, there's no grids. We got grids on the addition. I don't know, what you guys think about that, but it looks like there may be some inconsistency there.
Mhm. Okay. All right, that'll complete the work session, so we'll take a 6-minute or so, 5-minute, 6-minute break and begin the official meeting at 5:30. Our work session, the regular meeting now underway. Introduce Jim Bailey and Tacoa Bell with the city. We have Emily Hickson Shepherd, council liaison, Carol Dunkey, Tracy Collins, Chuck Yannicki, David Yates, and myself, Bob Buckman, all volunteer architects on the board. First item of business is review of meeting minutes from our prior March 20th. With that, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes written for March 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting minutes are approved as written. At this point, if we call your project and you're here in person, we would ask you come to the microphone in the front of the room and introduce yourself. We'll discuss your project. If you're online, to raise your Zoom hand and Tacoa will add you to discuss your project. The first 3 are public hearings. So we'll start with 372 South Gore Avenue.
I am Katie Neeson Cook with Jim Bolesky Architects.
Hi, Katie. Welcome, Katie.
I have two people on Zoom.
Yeah, my clients are on Zoom.
And welcome. All right, I believe there was a question maybe from one of the board members.
I think the project looks very good. I wondered if y'all would be consider having a window on the north side of the new family room. It's kind of a long expanse of siding there. I know it's not really readily visible. Do you want to, I have plans here in front of me that might be easier than looking at them on a
That's
small
okay.
format.
Got it.
Okay. You're better than me. I can't. do that.
So somewhere between the original house and the door.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I know that they are planning to put, television on that side. I will confer with them about maybe putting one fairly close to the closet portion and see if they would be okay with adding that.
Okay.
I don't have a problem adding it, but I would like
Okay.
to confirm budget wise if they're good
And
with it.
if it's agreeable with everyone, maybe we could add that to the motion as an option. I think it would be nice to have that extra light in there and it'd give your elevation a little more balance. So maybe we could read that in as an option and then you can discuss it with your
Yep.
client.
For sure.
All right. I think that was the only comment at the public hearing. Is there anyone else present in person or online that wants to make a comment? And seeing no one, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 372 South Gore as submitted with the option of adding a window on the north side of the new family room.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, you're approved as noted. Thank you, Katie. Next, we have 131 South Maple Avenue.
Hello, my name is Hannah. I am with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. I also have Jill Hammer here, my client and the homeowner. So I know this is a resubmittal. Our discussion is pretty much going to be about the post size, correct?
Yeah, and just a couple other clarification items.
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
let's go through them.
Okay, I just wanted to verify, your notes say that there's going to be a standing seam metal roof, is that correct?
This is for 131 South Maple. That's my other project.
That's me.
Oh, yep, sorry. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. See, it's you and I just know, okay. I know to look for you. I just didn't look at the project.
Okay.
Okay, I am now on the correct project.
There we go.
Okay, I still have some questions.
That's okay.
Your existing deck on the photographs, there's, that area is closed off below there.
No,
It's
open.
It's open?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's going to remain open? It's kind of hard to tell from the photos. They're a little dark. Okay. But if that's an existing condition to remain, okay. If you were open to closing it off, not going to require it, of course, because it's an existing condition, but I think that might make it look a little more finished and substantial. And then also, the crown of the profile of the crown, do you have any additional information on that? It's just kind of fairly light, or is it just going to be a real simple crown profile? I was just kind of wondering. I mean, is it like it's shown in the perspective view, or was there going to be any more articulation to it?
Yes, whatever they have drawn, I didn't do the structure drawings.
Okay.
Whatever they have drawn is the selections that Jill and our salesman had gone through and
Okay.
selected. So
Okay,
everything, all the information that's there is what's going to be built.
okay,
Does
okay.
that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Yeah. And then I think maybe Dave had the same comment. We were wondering if you'd be open to increasing the column size to 10 inch because it is such a it's a 10-foot column.
I'll let Jill speak about that.
I was hoping that you would consider not increasing it. The reason why is it's a significant increase in price.
Mhm.
It's $2,932 for just adding 2 inches to each pole, and there's only 2 poles. I went to the back of my house and I measured existing posts that I have. So my deck posts are 5 1/4 inch thick, and those are exposed and they'll be right next to it.
Mhm.
And then the railing that's on the deck has posts, and those are only 2.5 inches. So I think as far as continuity, it wouldn't look too bad having 6 inches, and the structure is sound. And I think it would look okay. It's just a rate increase in price.
I understand. And they were 6 inch and now they're 8. So I think the 8 is,
That's
That's
the
what-
increase from 6 to 8.
The
Okay.
$2,900 is the price increase from when we went from 6 by 6 to 8 by
Okay.
8. So if the 8 by 8 is gonna cost her almost $3,000 more.
yeah. So, but you are willing to go the 8 by 8 because that's what's shown here.
No, I
No,
think we're going
that's what
to
I'm
rescind
requesting
it
is,
back to 6
Can
by
I
6.
stay at 6?
Mm.
Because it's so much higher just for 2 inches. And it's surrounded by things that are, posts that are smaller than this.
Yeah, I understand. And I think you make a good point about the proportional relationships of what's around it. It's just keep in mind that when you're spanning 10 feet, which is tall, with a 6-inch post, I'm afraid it might look spindly. I mean, you have a very good point about the proportion of what's around it, but when you run a 6-inch post for 10 feet, it starts looking really small.
What's the material of the 6x6 post?
Metal.
Metal.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can add maybe some trim or something to give it some increase in its size without really increasing the cost that much?
But the structures know that the 6 by 6 post, the metal post, as far as I know, those are structural.
I understand.
And
I'm,
so to add anything more to them, we're getting into the structures kind of custom range, and that cost is going to explode.
Do they have this?
What if we do a wood column and then just wrap it?
well, it's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Tracy's trying to say the same thing I'm saying is we can approach it that way. I think,
Unfortunately, our pergolas are not built that way.
Yeah.
These are in a way custom made, but with a very, very small set of options, and structures builds their pergola,
Right.
all their pergolas out of metal.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
And if you look, there's crown that's added, there's molding that's added, and that does increase. the
Sure.
Width and
Yeah.
the decor.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was trying to suggest a cheaper option to satisfy, what we're looking at, but yeah, I get it. So
It's
let's
a-
go to wood.
it's The back.
Let's go to wood, I mean, what the heck? I don't know. Is going to wood an option?
Not for this one, no.
No?
We could wrap it.
It has a
in wood.
mechanical roof, and I think for that reason,
That is, that as well. So they build all of those mechanics, so that the louvers actually move. And so the cables that move them, that are connected to the motor, they go through those posts
Through the
as well.
It's a manufactured system.
Yeah, I get it.
So then if there was a service issue and you had it wrapped, you would have to unwrap it.
Take the wrap off, but that's exactly right.
Yeah, I understand your point. I do. I'm afraid you might be disappointed in how that looks when you see it, but believe me, we all understand the value of money and we get that.
All right, so the drawings are calling out 8 by 8 columns currently. Are we not Are these not correct then? They're really 6x6? Is that what I'm hearing? I just
We are
wanna-
changing it back to the original drawings, which showed us 6x6. So the drawing set that you have now, that says 8x8, we are not using 8x8. Our plan. So when we go to submit the permit set, it will say 6x6.
Anything else on the board? Public hearing, is there anyone else present online or in person that wants to make a comment? Seeing no one, may I have a motion on 131 South Maple?
I'll make a motion to approve 131 South Maple Avenue with the clarification that the drawings incorrectly show the column sizes and that the design intent is that they are 6x6 columns.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, you're approved as noted.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good night. 28 Elm Place is next on our list.
I have one person on Zoom.
Tracy's gone, so we have one person online. Could unmute yourself. Hello, John, if you could unmute yourself, we can't hear you currently.
Something in the chat.
Did we lose him?
I don't see him.
Don't see him. All right, so is he visible anywhere? I don't see him on my screen.
No, I've pressed the button that says ask to unmute, but nothing's coming through. And I sent something in the chat. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're here with us right now.
Okay. So we can come back.
Alrighty.
28 Elm Place, and maybe John could rejoin.
Tracy.
Let's just ask Tracy to come back and get everything else moving.
He's back again. I'm gonna try to see if he's live. Sorry.
Should we see if we can get him unmuted first to see if Tracy should step out again?
I've got him live again. He's still on mute. I don't, as far as my technical expertise goes.
See Dak. He has to unmute himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Click-
Oh, there
he
is
goes.
good.
Almost.
Okay, John, we saw the mute clicking on and off. You're unmuted now, so if you could click again to unmute yourself.
Oh.
It's flickering back and forth between mute and unmute.
I love technology.
That's great. Close to walk over.
Yeah, it's close.
Mm, I don't have anything.
All right, so we'll continue down the agenda and we can come back to 28 Elm Place. Next, we have 9325 Big Bend Boulevard. New sunroom.
Hello again.
Hi, welcome back. All right, I think there were just some material verifications.
Yes,
Yeah, you probably heard us.
I did. I did. So the roof of the sunroom is going to be a standing seam metal roof.
And is it gonna match the pattern and spacing of the bay roof?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then siding, was that another one?
Yes, so it's going to be lap siding, but the color is going to match the existing house.
Okay, so it's going to be horizontal lap siding instead of shingle.
Yes.
Will the width, basically the exposure be the same or will it be narrower?
No, it'll be the same width.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
Is that like a 6-inch or an 8-inch lap or something you're looking at, or?
I think it's 6.
Okay.
I
So
think.
maybe
if I
we
remember
should
right.
just call it out that it matches
Yeah.
the width of the shingle.
That's a good idea. Okay.
And then Tracy, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious if you ever looked at the option to just overframe that shed roof so that the new sunroom would be symmetrical on the interior and exterior.
I knew you were gonna ask this.
Yeah.
So I ended up talking after our meeting again on the 20th. I ended up calling the homeowner and talking to him about the roof and, you know, the comments that you guys had. And really the reason that he wants this asymmetrical roof is so that way he has a place to stand outside and keep his grill and whatever, like kind of like we talked about last time. That is really, really important to him. He told me about it probably 3 times. And so he really wants to keep that overhang and be able to keep the top plate height on the other side. It will have to be asymmetrical. But we could do an overhang. I don't know how it would look. This kind of with the circumstances and the requirements he had, this is really the best I could come up with. And he seems extremely happy with it. You know, he likes the asymmetrical, he likes how the windows look, he likes the window pattern, especially in the gable. Yeah. Really what I got from him.
Okay.
That he's a huge fan of this design, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could the 4.5 12 pitch just have a different top plate height? Well, actually, it would be the same top plate height as the lower slope roof. Could that be raised up?
It could,
That would change the slope then, if you want to keep that
right,
center volume that you've got going on at the
right,
triangular part.
right.
and then the 2 triangular windows in the middle would be symmetrical. You just wouldn't have the overhang like you have on the left-hand side.
Let me. And I can certainly propose that to him.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because you can decrease that slope since you're going to a standing seam metal roof. I mean, you should be fine.
Right, because if you can go down to a 2 or a 1 with those. I mean, it's very, very low.
Standing seam?
Yeah, so you have both
Yeah.
sides be 312 and they'd be centered in the same center point.
Mm-hmm,
It's just you have a and since you're not wrapping on the front of it, you don't have to worry about the gutters lining up.
right, right. His other concern was that, the new vinyl windows, if you look on the west elevation, not having them too high up on the wall. He wanted that 5-foot knee wall there for privacy, but he still wanted to be able to look out the windows. So I'm hoping if we raise that top plate, that's still the case. I would think so.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Say again. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So if we raise that top plate, if you look on the west elevation,
Yeah.
there's, they're not transom windows, they're just I don't know what you would.
But you're
call
not going to raise the windows to follow the height of the new plate, right?
That was the original plan, is that those windows would sit on top of that 5-foot knee wall, I guess you want to call it.
Got it.
And that they would be right under the header,
Mhm.
be sitting there.
Yeah.
So if we raise that top plate, the windows would be raised as well.
You know, looking at the windows on the existing house, I think it would be more in keeping with the fenestration on the existing house if you just leave those windows where they are and raise the plate. Because nothing else on the house really has that, the windows pushed up right under the overhang. And as far as your privacy, you're still getting the same amount of privacy.
Right, right. Okay, I mean, and it wouldn't be that significant of an amount, probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 inches, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
siding in between there, so.
Yeah, I think that, I actually think that would look good, you know, on that side.
Mhm.
If you, don't have the window heads pushed right up against the soffit
Mhm.
and have
The
more,
buffer.
yeah, have more of a space like you do on the rest of the existing house. It
Sure.
kind of helps them blend a little more.
Sure.
And also that keeps the north elevation and the west elevation head heights the same, which is
Mhm.
nice.
Mhm.
But especially from the inside too. All the same height.
Mhm.
And we could still keep that mullion in the middle, correct? If I'm looking at this right, in the gable windows, in the.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, good.
And then each side, each gable triangle is the same triangle.
Same. Okay.
Yeah.
That would look better.
All right. We're all good with that? Then I'll ask for a motion. Dave?
I'll make a motion to approve. Sorry. What's the address?
9325.
9325 Big Bend, as submitted with the revision to change the west roof slope to 3/12, so that matches the east sloped roof. And the windows on that west wall would stay the same height as currently shown.
And could we add that the roof will be standing seam metal to match the existing bay roof? And that the siding will be horizontal lap siding to match the width of the existing shingle siding?
Yes. I was trying so well, Carol.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, you're approved as noted. Good evening. Next, we have 1132 Pine Tree Lane, new front porch.
Have someone on Zoom.
Hello,
Hey, this is Andy Nays. I'm the general contractor.
welcome, Andy.
Andy.
Hello. So I heard you guys in the pre-meeting. Do you want me to just address those?
Yeah, we were just looking at just the front porch, right?
Correct.
Wanted to verify some of the notes that are hard to read as far as
Yeah.
both sizes and material.
Yeah, it's really small. The posts are wrapped with James Hardy, but that is noted on one of them on one of the elevations. And yeah, I think my auto square AutoCAD snap line thing was not on. That's why the post looks like it's tapered, but it's really supposed to be straight.
Okay.
But you guys are architects, I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. I'm sorry, what size are the posts?
They come out after they're wrapped to be 8 inches. 3/4 inch wrap on both sides.
Did you say 8 inches?
Yeah, it's 5.5 and then 2 3/4.
Got it.
All right.
Nice.
Okay, other questions from the board?
What kind of railing are you using? Is it just like a Westbury? aluminum?
Yeah, it's standard black, and then it is supposed to be just 4 inches from the ground. It looks a little high in the drawing.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, I think that answers all of our questions. Thank you, Andy.
Yep, appreciate it.
Bet. All right, may I have a motion on 1132 Pine Tree Lane?
Clarification. I'll make a motion to approve 1132 Pine Tree Lane as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, you're approved. Thanks, Andy.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Too. Next, we have 1432 Bridle Avenue window replacement. Anyone here present for,
I have one person on Zoom.
Hello, this is Adam Gangle, representing Renewal by Anderson.
Hello, Adam.
hi, Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. We had a question about window 101.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard some of your comments in the pre-meeting as well. Would you like to ask them now, or should you want me to just address them as I heard them?
Yeah, so would you, so if you heard our comment about window 101, what are your thoughts on that?
The homeowner is disabled and they have a couch that backs up to that window. So it's difficult for them to open those windows because they have to reach behind the couch, get up on the couch on their knees, and then lift the window up to open it. If you're familiar with the Anderson window, it's a thicker frame than your, builder grade vinyl. So I think it looks a little better. We also have the option, if you think it would look better, to do something we call faux meeting rails. Makes the windows on the flanking windows on the sides look like a double hung from the street. The other thing I'd like to point out is, these houses were built in the 60s. It's not your, typical historic Webster Groves home. And the next door neighbor also has a triple glider facing the front of their house. 2 houses down on the other side of the street, they've got a triple glider. And then there's another one catty corner. So 3 other houses within eyesight of the driveway also have triple glider. So I don't think it would diminish the value of the neighborhood.
As far as usability, if they had a fixed picture window on the inside and then went to casements for the flanks, those operate by crank, and I think that would be easier to open because you wouldn't have to climb up on the sofa, that you could just crank those windows open, and it would still give you that traditional look with the thicker mullions. So I think that would solve your operation problem. And then also too, with some of the gliders that we've seen in these types of houses, a lot of times they'll have the larger fixed pane in the center, and then the 2 gliders that operate are smaller in proportion on the sides.
Yes.
So I think that, either one of those 2 options would look much better than going to a triple pane glider with all equal lights.
Okay.
I
I agree.
Yeah, I would really encourage you, as far as just usability. I think it would be easier to crank open a crank open a casement than it would to slide a slider, especially if there's some kind of mobility difficulty for your client. That crank on the slider the crank on the casement would be easier to reach and to work than the slider would.
I can propose that. From what I can see, the issue, and I think I would have proposed that because I prefer the look of our triple casements to our gliders. But there are bushes out that grow above the window line. And I believe, and if I guess I could be wrong here, but I was looking at the file and I thought we had the 1:2:1 ratio. Yeah. So it's currently a 1:2:1 ratio, which is the bigger middle window, and the flanking windows are smaller. At least that's the file I have, unless that was changed at the project manager. I'm actually the design consultant on this. This is the first time I've ever been asked to attend one of these meetings. So
I'm looking at your submittal on page 7,
Yeah.
23, and the illustration on 101 shows a 3 equal glider. That's what
Interesting.
we're reviewing because that's what's submitted.
Okay. So my file that I sold was a 1:2:1, which has that bigger middle pane, which is what all of the neighbors have that I mentioned, and I do think looks better. I'll have to find out if there was a reason that was changed at the measurement. But I have no doubt that the only reason I've ever had that be an issue is if the customer had 3 double hungs that were equal size and they wanted to keep their blinds the same. They wanted to keep the same blinds. But that wouldn't be the case here because they weren't equal size double hungs to begin with anyway. So I'm with you on the triple glider 1:2:1 ratio. I can certainly push that through. I'm sure the customer will have no problem with that.
If everybody's agreeable, maybe we could stipulate in the motion the 1:2:1 proportion with the option to keep the existing mullions with a fixed picture window in the middle and casements as the flanks. That way you can talk through the various conveniences with the owner and they wouldn't have to come back to us when they make a decision. Would that be okay with you?
So I guess I was mistaken. I thought you were asking about the triple glider. So it's going to substantially increase the cost by $5,000 or more to go with 3 separate windows, as opposed to 1 unit in there. Cutting out those mullions. So we do have a triple casement, which is also a fixed middle window, and then 2, flanking casements where the picture window is bigger in the middle. We have that as a possibility, and that would be probably $2,000 more than the glider. But I'm pretty sure the customer isn't going to go for three individual units while leaving the existing moles in there. I mean, I can ask, but I think I know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think we were suggesting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I thought the 2 options were just verifying the proportions were 1:2:1 with the sliders on each side, fixed in the center, and the option to do the same proportion with casement on the ends instead, just to give your client, the option is from a mobility standpoint, that the casements would be easier to operate than the sliders. That's what we were saying.
Oh,
As an option.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we can make a motion with those 2 options as for window 101, and I don't think there were any other questions, were there? Okay, so sounds like we're good. You're good with
Great.
it then, Adam? Because
That sounds great to me. I know one of those options will work for them.
all right. With that, may I have a motion on 1432 Bridle Avenue.
I make a motion to approve 1432 Bridle Road as submitted with the revisions that the window will be a 1-to-2-1 proportion slider with a fixed center pane, with then the option to do a centered fixed pane with 2 casements on either side.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Adam, you're approved as noted. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good evening.
Too. Next, we have 664 Lilac Avenue, new additions.
Without all of my papers, so.
Get
My phone, my tiny notebook.
Yeah.
I think I'll be okay, but
Okay.
yes, if it gets to
Yeah,
that, then
okay.
yeah, I'll borrow a set. Thank you. I'm Catherine Duckworth with Hercules Design Build. And I do have a couple of updates to make, if that's okay. You guys mentioned the south side, the existing family room, the window that we were proposing get closed in. It's gonna stay. It's off the table. Window stays. We're back to that just staying as is. So that's one. And then the other clarification is we have added a window in the mudroom. I agree with you guys. It's a big enough space. It needs a window. It is going to happen on the sidewall, which is the north elevation. And it'll match the bathroom window that's right beside it. So there'll be a pair of matching windows. The elevation that faces the street is only 6 feet. And at this point, we have a cabinetry up against that wall. It's a mudroom. We're trying to accomplish 20 things and, a 10 by 10 room. So I think if you look at, on the photos of the existing, the top right photo that shows that north elevation, I feel like when you're driving by, you'll notice that there are 2 windows. There are 2 windows on the garage. There'll be 2 windows on that addition. And I feel like it won't be a disaster that we don't have a window on that 6 foot. The other reason to consider not putting one there is it's going to look out on 2 AC units, all the garbage cans and the gas meter. So I'm hoping that that'll be acceptable.
On the side?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be 2, it'll look just like that bathroom window. So it'll be sort of
Mhm.
like one and then the other,
Right.
just a little bit down.
Okay.
So we've worked through both of those things already. And I believe your other comment was about the piano room and the rear facing wall. And we have, again, we're trying to accomplish sort of like a million things and in a reasonable sized room, of course, but they know that they'll always, that's the piano wall.
Mhm.
And they know that they're eventually going to need a new piano and we've got space for an upright. They're worried about the height of it. We're worried about trying to, I don't know if you guys have pianos in your houses, trying to fit other furniture in a room with a piano. So because of where it sits, we were hoping not to put in a window in the elevation. We've done studies, drawn it a million different ways. And it just works best for the family not to have a window there.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. All right, any other comments from the board? All right, well, thank you for the updates, and I think we could make a motion based on those.
We'll make a motion to approve 664 Lilac Avenue with the following 2 clarifications. The first being that the window noted to be demolished on the south elevation is to remain. And the second item is that a additional window will be added to the mudroom on the north elevation, which will match the proposed window in the bathroom on that same wall.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, you're approved as noted.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Have a good night. And then 253 Pappen is our,
John's back.
and then we'll come back to John's project at the end. All right, 253 Pappen, new edition. We had some questions on this one. Welcome.
Hi.
Ben and Katie Schwegler, homeowner.
Hello.
Welcome, Ben and Katie. All right. The questions, I know Chuck, you had some questions?
We were looking at the roof lines, I think on this one.
You're talking about the side? Roof lines from the side or just all of them?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
side elevation looking with the porch on the left. And there's a lot going on with the various roof lines and didn't know if the addition roof line could come forward and line up with the main roof line of the existing home and just simplify that whole area.
Are you talking about the peak itself or the actual, like the whole brow and? Off the one side?
yeah.
Like the dormer and like the actual roof line in the front of the house, right? Like that gable
Yeah.
you're staring at on the side?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I see if you do that, then that raises where the gable. So
If
that,
we move it forward, then we have to get an exception to have the finished square footage on the second floor because it'll be past the very front of the house. It's like some 30 feet or something like that. And we're hoping to move
Yes.
quickly on this. And if
Okay.
we wanted to get that exception, we had to do that first, and that would have put us here like in May and then not starting till June. And so we're like, well, let's
Okay.
just push it back.
there's a lot more going on than just the roofs.
Yeah.
Correct, yes. Yeah, the roofs are a byproduct of finished space
Yeah.
over the porch, so.
And we agree, it does look a little busy. Luckily,
Yeah.
there is another house right there, so you're not gonna be staring at all of this all the time. Which is part of why I don't want windows right there, because I don't really want to be staring into my neighbor's house. I love windows though, so once we know how we're going to use this room and furniture placement, I would love to maybe put some windows there in the future and also like above that walkout basement where the kitchen area will be. I just want to wait, plus they're expensive, so it kind of saves a little bit of money to wait on that. And the grids, I know you mentioned that earlier. Some of our windows are grids and I mean, eventually we would want all of the windows in the house to have, you know, the same windows, so
grids.
we'll be wanting to replace those
Yeah.
as
Okay.
well. Same thing with like the siding, that it will match whatever the old part of the house ends up getting that doesn't have brick. So it'll
Okay.
be uniform all the way around.
Right.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding correctly. So you're putting the grid style you're showing in your new on your new edition. It's your eventual plan to go ahead and replace any that are not conforming eventually, not as part of this
Yes.
project? Okay.
Yeah, the two
Okay.
currently that we have up in the dormer are grids. I mean, I would also like to replace them so they're all, you know, the same, but yeah, I mean, everything will eventually have grids.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. You know, we understand that sometimes you can't do all of this stuff all at once.
Yeah,
So yeah, just so we kind of know the
Yeah.
plan. And then as far as when you were talking about adding windows, are you talking about what we had mentioned in the work session about in the family room?
in the family room, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that you may want other functions and not necessarily to have a view of something you don't want to see. But would you consider like high transom windows? So that would break up the elevation?
Maybe, yeah, I mean, I would consider big windows if it works out for that. I'm trying to find like, here, hold on. So when you're looking at, you have like the plans of like the inside, right?
Yeah,
So on the first floor, it looks like the stairs kind of bump out into the living room there.
Mhm.
So I guess in my mind, like flanking the fireplace, I wanted like built-ins with like arch and like some shelves for pictures. So windows wouldn't really work in that design. But if I don't end up doing that, then I would absolutely put it in like huge floor to ceiling windows because I love windows and light, but I'm just holding off on it for now.
okay. I understand.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a way maybe we can accomplish some things here, like maybe if everybody would be agreeable to put in an option that is you're going along that you could add those windows if you chose
Yeah,
to.
that would be great. to have
And
yeah.
that way, you know, as things are coming together, you can kind of make your decision. And if you decided to add them, you could do it in this phase of construction and not have to go back and tear stuff up if you decided you wanted them later.
Mhm.
So
What you
maybe we
could
could
do-
do something like that.
What you could follow Carol's idea is, and I've done this before, where if you want to do a future window in there,
Frame for it
Frame
now
for
and
it
then have
now.
it already.
and then later
I thought
on,
of
when you're
that
doing
too.
your tear out, you're not modifying structure or anything else in it.
Yeah.
So give that a try. The eyebrow, little rough on the south
Something.
elevation.
Like, I'm in
Well-
agreement. I don't love it.
Well, I get it because it's south elevation and that's where you're gonna get a lot of sun. and all
Right.
that. But I don't know how effective it's really gonna be. How far out it goes out, what, a few feet or something?
That was
It's
more an
really just for,
architectural
yeah,
Is that
aesthetic.
just an element
breakup, you know, just so
that
that it
came up
wasn't-
from the designers?
That was kind of a mix of both. We kind of had some designs where it was open and there wasn't anything there and it just was very sheer. And very abrupt that it was almost felt like, hey, we slammed a box on the side and
Yeah.
here's some roof. So one of the ideas that we had talked about was potentially shingling the entire front in a way, like,
So right now, like the old part of the house is brick on the first floor and then it's like cedar shake on, you know, the sides and I guess the back. Well, actually the back is
Board.
hardy board, but we want it all to be pretty much the same. So I don't know. The whole front of the new addition is siding on here, which is a possibility. I don't know if shake would look good or not. It might be too busy, but it just needs something to break it up. And like, I know you suggested that band. But
We've
if you
done
put
that
that-
before,
I
sure.
mean, would that
Yeah.
look bad if you have the same siding on both sides of that?
There's a house over by, I can't think of the park, Hawken House.
Okay.
And there's a side street there that goes off of that, and there's a huge house. in there. And it's 2.5, 3 stories, I think, and they've done that where they've broken up the massing of that. Looks good, looks okay. So you might drive by there maybe and take
Yeah, I
it.
will.
It's white with black trim. Can't miss it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I-
cannot miss it.
All right.
I think just that front elevation and the side, that massing could introduce a band board and have the same siding material on the top and bottom of it and relate to your existing house as a way to help break that massing up successfully.
And it would also put more focus on the original front porch, which has the eyebrows trying to compete with the front porch that's there now, you know. So
Mhm.
if it's less going on, then that'd be the focus. Are there pictures of the existing house?
Uh-huh.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, what's the treatment on the foundation wall? I don't think there was a note here for that.
You're talking about the Eden, the breakfast nook?
you're talking about current foundation.
The existing addition, so what are you planning on doing with the exposed concrete? Because there's no notes on the drawings.
I don't think they're
I don't know if they actually had a plan to do anything with the,
exposed I don't know.
like the the new pour, and they pour the
Uh-huh.
basement is gonna be exposed. Does there need to be a treatment on it? Is there normally a treatment applied? That would be my question.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's really a question, depends on how much is exposed, right?
Okay.
So that's why.
Are we talking the front of the house?
Be like this side.
All the front, the sides.
All the way around your new
Yeah.
concrete. So
Basement?
yeah,
Oh.
the part that is shows, sometimes if it's just
Plants?
raw concrete and it's just got the form liner marks in it, it can be kind of undesirable looking. So
Yeah,
sometimes they'll
Yeah, you
paint
see
that
the-
or.
You see the form lines, you see where the ties are and, and sometimes it doesn't really look all that great, so.
Paint it and plant some pretty bushes?
Right, I think that's the question, because there's not a note on here about the treatment of it. It looks like your existing foundation is painted. Looks like it does have a texture.
All gonna get repainted and
Right.
like,
So I think that was just the question, if you're
yeah,
gonna,
like in the front of the house, like,
yeah,
I imagine we would do like a raised, like kind of flower bed, maybe to kind of match like the brick, kind of bring it over and do, I don't know, bushes, flowers, something in there.
Yeah.
And in the front, and I mean, I haven't really given a whole lot of thought to the side of the house yet, but I imagine we'll do some kind of like plants.
And
Yeah,
paint.
if you have more,
Paint.
if you have more than a foot or two of concrete, you want to do something with it. And, as to Chuck's comment where you have the lines of the formwork and the
Right.
brick ties, they go through a process where they grind those joints down and fill the holes and they rub it with like a cement paste just to make it look more finished
Oh,
Right.
before they paint it.
Right.
okay.
It's called sacking and rubbing, I think it's called.
Haven't talked about it with anybody. It hasn't been brought up. I
Okay.
haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we want it to look pretty, so I mean, like, I
We're
guess,
just-
I don't know.
I think it's just,
So do we actually, so. yeah.
I think you would like it because sometimes when you're doing a really nice big project like that, if you weren't aware how that foundation might be left, you'll have all the rest of your house looking really neat. And then the exposed concrete will
Yeah.
have the form liners and the tie marks and everything. And it'll be kind of like, ow.
Mm.
So I think that you would be pleased with the way it would look on your finished project to
Right.
do the treatment that Dave was talking about.
Okay, and you called it a what?
I call it sacking and rubbing.
Okay,
It's a concrete finish that once they pull the formwork off, they do it pretty soon after so that it doesn't set up too hard if they can't still
Right.
squish at it,
all right.
And
Well, about it.
when we're on the subject of foundations, I wanted to clarify what's going on here on the back on your 3D views at the very back here.
So,
It kind of looks like this whole big addition is cantilevered. Is that the case? Because maybe there's lines missing on the drawing or something.
There's a little bit of that is exposed and it's on like a raised,
like a deck,
there's pilings
it's the laundry,
underneath. That's where our laundry currently is.
it's
Okay,
that little bump out, the
right.
last edition.
There is a lattice wrap on part of that, and part of it is actually the walkout for the current basement. It's listed as a crawl space for the breakfast nook. That would still be a crawl. Potentially, it could.
Yeah, it's right now, the breakfast nook will be on a crawl and the rest will be the basement.
That would tie to that. We could close in that lattice area if needed. And we've talked about it. It's rather drafty and cold in the winter. I think we
Mhm.
temped it out at 38 degrees this year. Tile floor, it's real spicy in the morning when you go to feed the dog.
Yeah. So, okay, so when you're saying that existing laundry condition where that's up on the post, that will remain on post?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
no plans to change.
Now, and then next to it, you're going to do an actual concrete foundation where there's a crawl space access from your existing basement. Is when you say a crawl space, I just want to verify what we're saying here and that your new portion of your new two-story addition is not going to be on posts.
As far as I'm tracking from that drawing, it will be a crawl space, i.e. unfinished, not usable portion of the basement and not on posts.
Not on
Right.
posts. Okay, so
Board.
yeah, that's because it was just dashed in on the foundation plan and wasn't really shown as a concrete pour. And then the way it looked on the elevations and the 3Ds, I just wanted to verify that there is going to be actual concrete wall crawl space underneath that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is,
Okay.
everything is planned to be on a board.
Okay, yeah,
For the
I just wanted to verify because there is a little bit of ambiguity there. So thanks for the clarification.
And a question I have, the main dormer over the front porch has is that shingle, is those shingles up there?
Yeah,
Yes.
The shingle, okay. So that's the shingles. So then are you on the new addition, are you gonna do the shingles or the siding?
Oh, so the old addition, sorry, I thought you were talking about the roof. It is
Oh,
siding,
sorry, the shingle siding.
the siding. So we have on the front dormer, the original house, that is siding.
Oh, that's siding.
It's siding.
It's
On
very
the
wide.
side, it's cedar shake.
Shake.
And then on the back side, it's a completely different kind of whatever. And then it's also got brick on, the front. So, what we would like to do is, and we want it to all be the same everywhere. So if we can do, I like the cedar shake. If we can do all of like the second floor in the cedar shake all the way around. I don't know, maybe if we do that band, I can, or maybe, I don't honestly know, but I know that whatever we do on the addition, we're gonna change the old part to match it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's, I think we've come up with a lot of good ideas here. I'm just wondering if you want to maybe do a little more sketching and deciding, like, if you want to get rid of that shed roof on the front and put the band board around, and where
No.
that you want to, I didn't know where that discussion ended up. So
I mean, really, we just did it to kind of break it up because it was really boring without it. Like,
Uh-huh.
it needs something there. I mean, we could do a band board, and if that looks bad, I'm sure we could come back and,
yeah, I didn't know where that discussion ended. If you were considering removing that shed roof portion and then breaking that addition up by having a band board and maybe the shingles at the top and the lap siding at the bottom. I didn't know exactly where that conversation ended, what was resolved there, or if it's still under consideration.
under our consideration, or yours?
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to kind of figure out exactly where
Open
we're
to
going.
Suggestions, ideas, like,
Uh-huh.
I'm not in love with this little, I don't know what you want to call that.
The eyebrow sense.
Yeah, the eyebrow, but, I mean, I don't love it. I just know that it needs something. I mean, we
Yeah.
can scrap it, and I'm okay with committing to a band board.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't really, if you guys think it'll look good, it's what you do, so.
I mean, I think
trust
it's
your judgment.
I think that that's a possibility. I personally, if it were me, I would want to take a little time to study where that's going to stop and start as you bring it around your addition, unless the idea was to just have it on the front. But I think that would look a little strange to just
Gonna
have it
to
on the
stop
front.
and start around the windows.
Well, you could take it from your existing and then wrap it around the corner and maybe take it into the, where the stair tower is.
Yeah,
where your
Right.
stairs are. Just end it there.
That was my thought.
and then terminated at the stair tower. I just wanted to, be clear on what
So-
was being proposed.
So my comment about the band board was, I personally thought that would be a way to help break it up with or without the eyebrow. So I was just gonna suggest if you wanted to put it in as an option.
I mean,
And I think it does both. It could replace the eyebrow.
I
In my
basically-
mind, I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't need to see that drawn again.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify where we
Right.
left it. I mean, I personally don't have a problem with the eyebrow. It kind of,
Right. don't
mirrors a bit of the front porch configuration and brings that across onto the,
So I
the
didn't want little
addition.
windows, because originally she had it pretty much the same, like just like 1.5 story dormered out to match the front, but that meant I had like really small windows,
Mhm.
and I like big windows, so we tried to, I don't know.
Can we option with the eyebrow and with band board, or band board with the option of eyebrow? I guess would be the.
I
the
mean,
correct-
for me, that's all I was suggesting with that as an option.
Yeah.
I personally think it's fine the way it is.
Okay,
The
that's
band
just
board
it.
might help with that front mass is all.
I think once you start seeing it get built, and, a lot of clients, they have a real hard time with this two-dimensional, and even though we've got three-dimensional drawings in here, still it's somewhat difficult. But I think once you see it in the massing, in the construction, then we'll better be able to figure out what you guys want.
Okay.
That sort of
Well,
thing.
you know, that was my only suggestion
Yeah,
on that.
okay.
I don't know if there's anything else that anyone feels needs to be.
Did we
addressed.
decide on siding, whether it's all going to be the same or whether it's going to be shingle on the second floor and horizontal
Right.
lap?
I would offer that the execution as it sits right now is to match all siding across all structures.
Mhm.
If we decide to go with that cedar shake, I would say we would be coming back to say, hey, we're looking at the second floor to do.
Kind of like you're saying. when it
Right.
Yeah,
starts.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But intentionally, initially now it is just a standard siding.
Right.
Across the entire. thing.
Horizontal.
Okay, the
Correct.
horizontal lap siding. And then if you guys were to change your mind about the shingle finish, you wouldn't mind coming back at that point I'm just, we're trying to do as much as we can here reasonably and then kind of get a feel for where you might want to go in the future.
We had
Oh.
talked about shingles. I kind of brought that up out of turn, probably.
Okay.
So the intent is to
Okay.
match everything across both structures so that
Okay.
it's cohesive.
Okay.
And then one last thing I had was like, I'm looking at the front porch and it has, I don't know what the term is, but the roof slope comes down and ski slopes a bit. Are you gonna want to replicate that on the addition?
I would like to,
Okay, because I know the three-dimensional drawings that were produced are more representational without that little detail on the end. And that'd be a nice addition if we could say that was going to happen on at least the main front facade.
Yes, to match,
yeah.
as much as we want it not to look like it was bolted on.
Right,
to
right.
Actually ensure that it's like, oh, hey, this was intentional and, so.
What do we call that?
I'm at a loss.
A Danish Eve or I don't know.
It's just, yeah.
Making a list and checking it twice about what we've got under consideration here, and maybe it would be a good idea to review the list before we make the motion, do you think?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
is that?
Yeah.
Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I have. On the new addition on the front elevation, the ski slope roof will match the existing roof line on the front. The front addition, or the front of the new addition can be constructed with or without the shed roof overhang. The foundation will be rubbed and painted. There's an option to add a band board on the new addition that would follow the band board on the existing house. It will wrap around the front and the east side and terminate at the stair tower. And that there will be a concrete crawl space under the new addition at the rear. And did we have anything else on that? Oh, yes, we did, because we were going to have the option to add windows on either side of the fireplace in the family room. Okay, is that
I think
cover
that's,
everybody's
I think that's what I
Sounds good.
stuff?
Mhm.
Okay.
Your motion.
All right, that's the motion.
A motion coming in motion here. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve 253 Papin Avenue with the following understandings. On the front elevation of the new addition, there'll be a ski slope style roof to match the front of the existing house. The front elevation of the new addition can be constructed with or without the new shed roof on the front. There's an option to add a band board that would match the existing band board on the house. It would run across the front of the new addition, turn down the east side of the new addition, and terminate at the stair tower. The foundation will be rubbed and painted, and there will be a concrete crawl space foundation underneath the new construction at the rear adjacent to the laundry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, you're approved as noted. Good evening.
Good night.
You as well, thank you. All right,
Do we need to come back to Elm?
so we need to come back to 28 Elm. John?
Can I leave or do we have?
Hello?
Yes, we'll have a form 3.
Okay.
Hi, John, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate you coming back to me. I'm not sure what went wrong earlier, but I could hear you. You couldn't hear me.
Quite all right. I think our board was good with the garage.
Right?
I think we had some questions or comments about the shed as an option. So assuming that we are reviewing both of those designs,
That is the intent. Yes, sir.
yeah. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to some of our comments, but if I could just sum up what was discussed about the carport.
Yeah, and I did hear, but it's probably best if you sum it up. And I think we would be agreeable. I think everything we heard.
Yeah, I think the suggestion was using your existing front porch as the sample.
Right.
Column styles, the thicknesses, the trim for the beams, and the infill for the gable ends. The suggestion was on the carport design, if you would consider that more of a refined finish to match the house, was a question.
Right. Yeah, and I think we would. We when we looked at the pavilion style, whatever, it was more of a timber frame look, and we liked that. But we did have some concern. Okay, did it really fit with the house? We were thinking if you're in the backyard, it seemed like it looked really nice. We've seen people do them like that.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from the road, we were a little bit concerned as well. So I think, yeah, closing off the gable, the front, I guess the front and the back, right? Basically closing that off probably with cedar shake, similar to the house then.
Yeah, I think especially since you're in the historic district and it would be visible from the street, that would be a really advisable treatment to just make it blend more with the neighborhood and also to relate more to your house design. And I would also suggest staying with shingles rather than going to a standing seam metal roof. Just because of neighborhood fit, and it would also fit better with your house to keep it as shingles.
Okay, and I think we were fine with that as well. And then I'm not sure if there was anything else, but the columns to match the front porch, closing off the gables in line with the house, and then the shingle roof material.
Yeah, I think those were the items.
Okay.
And the garage I thought looked good as is.
Yeah, the garage looks great, as does your house, so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I did hear that comment, and it's taken us much longer than we anticipated, but we're very happy with the end result. So I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, and I think we prefer the garage. It's more practical and everything. It takes up more of the green space. We don't have a large yard. That was one of our concerns, and we're quite honestly a little bit worried that we might have overspent for the value. I'm not sure, but so we'll get bids on both. As long as we feel comfortable, the garage would be our first choice, but the pavilion was a second. The hailstorms lately have kind of scared us from leaving the cars out like most of our neighbors do.
Understood. All right, well, very good. So we can make a motion with those revisions to the carport. But before I do, it's a public hearing, so is there anyone present that wants to make a comment on 28 Elm Place? And seeing no one else, may I have a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve 28 Elm Place with the following clarifications on the carport. First, the clarification would be to enclose the gable ends of the trusses on the front and the back, to have a metal roof or
A shingle roof?
shingle roof in lieu of a metal roof on the carport. Have the size of the columns match the front columns of the existing house. And was there going to be an option for a screen on the one side that David was talking about?
That's, I don't know that we discussed that since Dave had to.
Right, that wasn't discussed.
That wasn't, okay.
And
I think go
do
ahead.
we want
Carol.
to clarify too that the columns would be trimmed out? to
Yes.
Match the existing.
Yeah. Columns would be trimmed out to match the front column. So with that, was there anything else?
I don't think so either.
I think we're good.
All right.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, John, you're approved as noted.
Excellent. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. You as well. All right, with that, we are adjourned.